if you are aware of this, but everyone has a prostate. Literally everyone. But again, this is part of that biology you would have learned if you had stuck with it past middle school.
That is pretty messed up, right? But this is what happens in a world where you convince ignorant people that they are much smarter than they actually are. But what I want to point out about this is you have people from the same hive scrambling these people's brains. Then, after they are fully scrambled, you have people from the same hive that created them putting them up on the internet and ridiculing them. You know, they turn families against each other, they infiltrate and divide, then they make a spectacle of it when the tides turn to divide people even more. Speaking of division and operations, it's time that I make a more glaring and obvious observation in the Charlie Kirk case. I know I said I was done with it, but people's comments have just put me in disbelief. At this time, I really have to believe that most of the comments and messages that I'm getting about this event are either bots or shills. And I'm saying that because if the comments and messages that I've received are not bots or shills, then we have a serious issue with retards infesting a space that shouldn't be infested with retards at all. In this last video that I released, people brought up the microphone that I showed on his shirt, clipped to his shirt, and people are saying it's not a microphone. How do you know that's a microphone? He already has a microphone in his hand. They're not piping the sound for the video from that crappy SM58 through a PA system. They use lavalier mics for these people, and these people out there are acting like there is only one video of Charlie Kirk that we can reference. Like there's only one, and it was the one where he got shot, right? Well, it's not the case, and let's get this out of the way. I need to show you a few examples for people to get it. This is from August 18th of 2025. You can see it there. And here is a Charlie Kirk video. Very easy to see here that the guest is wearing the same microphone here, and so is Charlie Kirk. I'm going to show you another one where he's wearing a lighter shirt. Here's a video from July 20th of 2025, and you can see Kirk with a hoodie on, wearing the same microphone right here, and there's a pack underneath it. Now, this video is from September 23rd, 2024, and here you can see that the guest has a typical lavalier microphone on, and Kirk has another style microphone similar to the other one that he wears. This shows that he has a habit of putting this microphone in the same place every single time. He puts it on his right side, on his chest, or just under his neckline. Here is another shot of that microphone. You can clearly see it right there. Always put around the same area. This is from September 2nd, 2025, just 8 days before, and you can see there that the microphone is clearly in the same area that it always is, right there. And there is a pack underneath that microphone, right there, right there. Here is Kirk on April 11th of 2025 with a hoodie on. There's the SM58, and there is the other microphone right there attached to his hoodie. This shows A, a habit, and B, it shows that he is using two microphones. Man, this is for the PA system to talk to the people. This is catching a decent quality feed of his voice that can be synced up later to later videos. Now, why am I showing that? I'm showing that because in the last video I showed you that at a certain angle you can clearly see right there that there is something behind that microphone, a pack that the microphone clips to. Right there, you can clearly see it. This microphone probably has a magnetic backing. You can see it multiple times very clearly. And that is where the action seems to take place from. What happens, the shirt flying up, all that appears to happen from within the shirt. Now, I'm not going to show any gore or anything like that, but here's the shirt blowing out from right where that frickin' mic was, right where that mic pack is. It appears to blow out, almost like hit him in the chin. Boom. The back of it, not the front. Boom. You can see it over and over. It appears to fly up from the inside of his shirt. Now, this got me thinking about if that were to pop like that, what examples do we have of that in the past? Do we have any? Can I look at them? Can I examine them? And we kind of do. We have the case of the exploding pagers from not too long ago, right? Boom. Blows out there. Here. Now, that's indoors. But that bang is very similar to a gunshot. It just is. So I began looking at this stuff, spectrally and just examining it. But after the pagers happened, like right after that, we had exploding walkie-talkies. This was happening in Lebanon, right? Boom. That sounds a lot like a gunshot. It just does. And I'm not saying that that is the noise, but it does sound a lot like a gunshot. There could be two sounds there in the Kirk case. So I began to look at this stuff spectrally, looking at all the different characteristics and hallmarks of these sounds. And what I began to do is look for people who may have tried to recreate these pager sounds. They could use more explosives or less explosives in the pager. So we don't have an accurate, exact sound reading, but we can kind of get an idea of what it sounds like when these pagers go off.
Vibrate would go off and a number would come up on the pager, and you would have to call that number.
What we're using for today's demonstration is going to be what's called a sheet explosive. It's basically PETN with a plasticizer. The format is safe this way, and for the purpose of our demonstration, obviously, we want safety.
To see what kind of damage the PETN could do, we first detonated a strip of it on a table. Okay, Ryan.
See, they used a lot of it. Big strip.
Then we strapped a pager rigged with PETN onto the waist of a dummy.
That sounds a lot like a gunshot. It really does.
Dummy.
And the damage is very similar. I just think they used a lot there. I think they used more than what is used in like the exploding pagers case. They seem to have used a lot more. Now, I am not saying that this is exactly what happened. I'm just following the evidence. I'm just comparing things, checking things out. Here is a sound, the actual spectral view of the sound of the recreation using explosives.
Waist of a dummy.
And that looks a lot like a gunshot there. A lot like the spectral view of a gunshot. And sounds a lot like a gunshot. It just does. So here is the video of Lebanon when the pager goes off. Let's give it a listen real quick. Sounds quite a bit like a gun, but let's check out the spectral view. It's very short and very square, the spectral view. Now, there is a lot of noise going on in this one, but this is the walkie-talkie explosion that happened after the pager explosions. So you can hear the activity going on, and that goes off. When you look at that signature, it is also short and square. It just has those characteristics right there. Boom. Spectrally, it's a short, square explosion. And then some echo afterward. It's kind of weird because what I found on the Charlie Kirk audio is very similar to this. It just is. People have been going in circles about this. I'll say, okay, here are some shots from a pistol, but here are shots that are right next to buildings. This is the Antifa shot where the Antifa dude shot a MAGA dude in Portland. And these are right next to buildings, and there is no immediate echo or slapback. Something that is as loud as the shot, there's nothing. There's nothing. What Charlie Kirk was in is not really an amphitheater where it is, acoustically designed. There's rails and just stuff everywhere that is not, acoustically friendly. Here is the Salt Lake City shooting at the No Kings March. And if we look at that, I showed this before, but if we look at that, that was right next to buildings, tall buildings, and there are no echoes like that. So then people said, well, that's not a 30-06. So then I showed a bunch of 30-06 shots, a bunch, and I've listened to probably hundreds now that don't have that in it. What is in the Kirk audio doesn't have that. They don't do that there is just something else going on here, because there are other sounds in that, and I'm going to show you this. I haven't gone over this yet. So here's the Kirk shot. I'm going to show you that there are other sounds going on in this.
Counting or not counting gang violence. Great.
So you have the shot. Then you have another sound that is blocky and square, very similar to the pager sound, spectrally. A second sound that is a totally different sound entirely, but there are other things going on in this that are not in typical 30-06 shots. One, look at the left channel up here. Boom. If we zoom in on that, there is a sound that is coming up in the left channel of the audio right here. And it is a weird squeak that is not consistent with the gunshot. It just isn't. So here it is. I isolated it, and I'm going to play it for you a few times. It's just at the very beginning of the shot, and I could hear it in the original shot, but then I really isolated it so that other people could hear it. It's weird. It's just a weird thing. That shouldn't be in a gunshot. And it just appears in the left channel, right there, loud. But there's other stuff going on. There is also an ELF, a low frequency rumble to this whole thing. So I isolated the ELF and boosted it up. This is right where the shot takes place, okay? And you might need a real speaker to hear this, like something with a woofer. You might be able to hear it on good headphones, but let's give it a whirl right here. There are two distinct pops when that goes off, and they're both low frequency. So let's look at it spectrally, right there. And there are actually 4, but 2 you can hear. So here is a typical 30-06 shot. So let's go way down into the low frequencies. Let's go way down, 100 and below. There's really nothing there. But in the Charlie Kirk audio, there is a lot of low frequency. So to prove this to me, if someone were to prove this to me, that this happens, I have looked at and listened to hundreds of these and haven't found one example of it. Show me a recording of a rifle, a 30-06, that creates 2 sounds that was recorded before September 10th of 2025. Because out of all the recordings of gunshots, this has to have happened before, right? If it's that typical, then show me a recording of it. Don't say it, show it to me. Because there are 2 sounds here going on. That is a separate sound. It's not an echo of a gunshot. It's its own signature. It is short. It is square. It happens, and it's completely different characteristically than a gunshot. And that's what's going on. And on top of that, all of the activity that I see coming from Charlie Kirk is from underneath his shirt. That's just what I'm seeing. Everything that happens seems to originate from under his shirt. Now here is another example of the Charlie Kirk shot that is just 0 to 200 hertz. So it's all very low frequency. And there are 2 distinct sounds, right here and right here. It's not the sound of Kirk getting hit and all that crap. This sound is, it's roughly 0.222 seconds after the alleged gunshot. It's 2 sounds. So with the sound that I've shown you, when you go back and you look and you see that he clearly had something underneath the microphone that was on the outside of his shirt, that was like a magnetic clip, right? Right there, you can clearly see it. All the action seems to originate from that area. This is just where the evidence is taking me. So here it is, again, right there. It clearly blows his shirt out, and comes back down. The sound is eerily similar to the exploding pager sound. It just is. I don't know what this video is about, but I'm seeing videos like this. No one was supposed to see this. And they're showing the microphone that's on Charlie Kirk's shirt that has been shown in other Charlie Kirk videos over and over and over. You can watch this same thing clipped in the same spot on his shirt as I showed over and over. So I'm not sure what people are getting at with that. And people trying to say that wasn't a mic. If it wasn't a microphone, Charlie Kirk didn't know that it wasn't a microphone or that it was loaded with something. Because like I said, I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm saying this is where the evidence is taking me. The action seems to originate from underneath that, where you can clearly see something underneath his shirt. But on top of all of this, we don't need wireless everything. You don't need something connected to Bluetooth or whatever, or something that needs a lithium battery right next to your skin all the time. Because not only can the lithium battery explode, but if somebody wants to do something to you, that device that you have on you, whether it's a phone or a microphone or anything with Bluetooth or a lithium battery, can be set up to do really, really bad things. I am not saying that this 100% happened. I'm saying that with the evidence that I've been able to look over with my own eyes and my own ears, it appears that all the action came from right where this microphone attaches to his shirt. And I'm saying that there is more to the audio than people are realizing. And I'm saying that a lot of the characteristics of what we hear and see spectrally has very similar characteristics to the pagers and walkie-talkies that we saw go boom in the past in Lebanon. And this is where the evidence is taking me. The rifle was planted. Almost everyone knows and understands this. Almost everyone in America, like the dude on the news, even said that he talked to everybody in line at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and no one believes that narrative. So with that said, we don't even know for certain that what people heard was an actual gunshot. What I am showing you is the evidence that I've collected and looked at, and it appears that this may be a magic trick similar to many magic tricks that have happened in the past. A lot of this kind of stuff happened on 9/11. There were lots of magic tricks on 9/11. Did people die on 9/11? Yes, people did die on 9/11. But a lot of magic tricks happened that created the entire official narrative. And the evidence is telling me that that is what we are seeing here. And that is it for now. Look out for Charlie.